look at the ES. Last week we talked about these fibs taking this high and this low pivot, and we were looking for the 127 extension at 1476.41. Now Tom Demark is also looking at 1490 as his number. We also have the 1618 at 1515. I find it hard to believe we would get up there right now, only because stocks are overbought. The mid cap and the Russell look pretty good. I would expect that the averages to come back. I would expect at least to get the 127 extension and then come back and retrace. And let's take a look at what that would look like using these pivots here. The 127 was up there, I believe. And we can delete this one now. So we can see that the 382 is down here at our moving averages, the 20 period, which is cruising up as well. So it's possible that we could get the 127 extension and come back to these highs, this breakout area. This is support now. So I could see this area here as support. Okay, so that's the ES. Now let's take a look at the weekly before we do anything else. We can see this uptrend that we're in. 127 is just up here. 1476. 1476. That's close enough. Whoops, that's close enough. So the 382 would be right here at that trend line. Okay, so there's a possibility we could move back down after hitting the 1476 area over the next few days and come back down to that trend line in the 382. Alright, so I see that is pretty plausible. Let's take a look at the NASDAQ. NASDAQ's looking pretty good as well. We're in this pattern, ascending pattern. The 786 is up here. Taking this pivot here, this high. 127 is at 2778, and the 618 extension 1618 is up here at near the upper trend line. So that's possible. It's just that we're overbought right now, and everybody's bullish. So I'm a little concerned that we may be getting ahead of ourselves, and we need to retrace a little bit. Crude oil, we had a nice week. And we were talking about this descending trend line on the weekly. And we're right at that trend line on the weekly. On the daily, let's see where we are. The 618 is right at the trend line from this pivot to this pivot. Alright, taking these two pivots, you can see the 618 right here. So I'd be very cautious going into this week on crude oil that the 618 could be an area that we would turn around. Dollar, you can all remember what happened this week. We tried to break above this and we got rejected. So now we have a pivot there. And the 618 here. Okay. So that's the dollar. Copper. We're in this triangle. That's going to resolve at some point. Note that the TSI is headed a little bit back up higher. 786. And we didn't get up to the 127 extension. We tried to break out, but we got held back by this trend line. Okay, so this is all going to be dependent on the dollar, of course. Looking at the candle glance sectors, XLB, SMH is doing fairly well. The semiconductors, XLP consumer staples has had two really nice candles Thursday, Friday. XLU is bouncing off of a trend line. XLK flagging there. XLY and IYT and IYR are doing okay, I guess. So for the most part, these are overbought. We can see the last 2 months how the gains were quite substantial. Consumer discretionary, technology, industrials, financials, S&P midcap, and the Russell 2000. Okay, they're all overbought. S&P 400 midcaps. You can see we broke above resistance, support now. So as we're moving higher, I would expect this to move back at some point, as we pointed out on the ES and the other charts. Note CCI is really in the overbought territory. The Russell 2000, point and figure, we were pointing this out in the room, Remink, myself, on Thursday and Friday. We had a spread triple top breakout on the Russell, and we're at 52-week highs. Note, relative to the S&P 500, the Russell's outperforming, so risk is on at this point. Consumer discretionary, as I pointed out before, we had support here, we broke out, and we gapped up, and now we've broken above this first level of support. Okay. Note the RSI, still looking pretty good. So for looking at for stocks that are setting up, you want to be looking at sectors that are not overbought per se, but that are about to move higher. Okay, where you want to see the money rotating in to that particular sector. At least that's the way I use them. XLF, pretty strong as well, relative strength wise, as well as relative to the S&P, the spiders rather. And we can see where we broke above this level of resistance, and now we're moving higher. And Friday we had a little bit of it looks like we had an inside day on Friday. So keep an eye on the spiders and the XLF. Keep an eye on the XLF and components there. The industrials we pointed out early in the week, and those look pretty good. We had an inside day as well on the industrials, so I want to keep an eye on that. We have a hangman on Thursday, a doji inside day on Friday. So, but we are bullish. We're above resistance and we're above this trend line. Note relative to the spiders where we are. Okay. Remember the euro versus the dollar. The dollar is moving lower on Thursday and Friday, as you would expect. The euro is moving higher. Okay. We broke that trend line during September, and we haven't looked back since. We had a little bit of a retrace to 126, and now we're at just above 132.50. Okay, 132.62 is the high on Friday. Gold, GLD, we're in a descending pattern. I would expect to see this break higher at some point if the dollar continues to move lower. Note the fibs, and we're right at the mid-range at 50% retracement. Okay, we've been in this range since September, and relative to the dollar, you can see that we are inversely correlated in that gold usually moves up higher when the dollar is moving lower. Okay, so we have that positive correlation. Okay, Now, these charts are courtesy of Arthur Hill, by the way, at Stock Charts, if you want to check that out. SLV silver, same descending pattern. We're right at the lower trend line, and we can see relative to gold, we're not performing as well. We've been in this range for the entire year, for the last 12 months, so we'd see some resolution at some point, but I don't really see a trade here. Looking at the Dow Industrials, we can see these pivots here and here. The 127 extension is up here at 1367, 13,676, and we're overbought. MACD is cruising higher, so we could embed. Bollinger Bands are continuing to move higher. The lower Bollinger Band is starting to flatten out, so this could still grind higher, okay, and wear out the rest of the bears that are out there. Spider's Kumo chart, so we broke above that level and now we're cruising higher. Chiku is above price and we are overbought. CRM, I did see Trader Stewie mentioning this. Very bullish pattern, possibility. I have an assumption that he's talking about this particular breakout possibility. We have an ascending triangle of sorts in this pattern right here, and we're above Tinkin-Sen. Kijun-Sen is flat, so we could see this move higher, and the Kumo is flat. PCLN is flagging as well. Let's see what happens if we break above this pattern here, but we're overbought. So I'm not sure what Stewie was looking at. Hard Pumper had mentioned XOM, I believe, had a high short percent in it, and we had a Kumo breakout. Maybe he was talking about the Kumo breakout. I think that's what it was, because we are above this trendline breakout. Stochastics is overbought, but we are breaking out of Kumo with this big flat span B. Chiku is above price now, but it's just below Kumo, so we could see some more resistance when Chiku encounters the Kumo. XLE, energy's been doing fairly well, most of the names that I've been trading anyway, and we have a position here where we could break out above this level and get up to this upper trend line. This triangle pattern we've broken above, so Stochastics is overbought. XLF is continuing to move higher. Note where Chiku is. Goldman Sachs is still cruising higher. We had an inside day on Friday, okay, and overbought. I'd love to get this back to the moving average, the 20 period, which is cruising higher, okay. I would rather see this get down to the 20 period and buy off of there, because we broke above the 200 period back in September, and we're just continuing to move higher. Okay, remember earnings January 16th, so it's this week. All right, so that's going to do it for me for this weekend. We have futures going to be opening in a little bit over a half an hour. I hope this helps. Take care. Remember to come over and meet the traders over at daytraderbootcamp.com. This is Cousin Vinny. Take your 2-week free